Welcome back to the Wise Mindset Guy podcast. I am your host, Nat Plastino, and I thank you once again for tuning into my show. Now, today's episode, we're going into a book that I read, I'd say it was about 1 or 2 years ago. It was by Tony Robbins. If you don't know who Tony Robbins is, well, you can look him up. He is someone who has been teaching self-improvement for decades, and look him up. He's a great individual when it comes to mindset and then self-improvement in general. Now, he wrote a book, and there was a topic in the book called Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And when I look at this method, it's not something that's familiar to me until about recently. Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is called for short NLP, is how, it's related to how we view our lives, and how, what we experience can be completely different to the reality of someone else's lens. When I mean by lens is how they view us in their perspective, right? The way we experience reality goes into a kind of a continuous loop, throughout our lives, and it becomes organized into our own version of what we think and feel. Whenever we process information about any subject that we are learning, it goes through a process of filters, right, in our brains, which we create an opinion based on our thoughts, our beliefs, and our values. Basically, what I'm saying is two people can look at the same set of facts but produce totally different interpretations of those details to produce a conclusion. So since our lives are built around experiences that are different than others, there comes an opportunity to shape our lives in different ways as long as we are open-minded to new ideas. I cannot tell you from my experience how many times I had discussions with other people about how someone else was in my view following the wrong path. It could be whether it's work, school, relationships. The problem is when I do that is that it's just my view or opinion, and it's not really based on all the facts. This shows me really that how I view anything may not be the absolute truth to the way it should be done. It is just my perspective. So how do NLPs, neuro-linguistic programming, create a better life experience for me and others? Well, it's done through modeling. When we look, for example, at someone else who is, let's say, very fit and athletic, we may be trying to get to the same level of fitness as them, but no matter what we do, we cannot achieve the same results. Well, basically, the modeling that we are following is not working for us. And so by modeling our life around a mentor, let's say a fitness instructor that is getting the results we desire, we can actually better work. It can actually better work in our favor. Same idea applies to in other fields. If you want to be financially successful, we look at others who are doing well with money wise and would like to emulate the same outcome. Obviously, we all want more money, right? We need to take a closer look at how we are handling our finances, which may not be to our liking, and start to model our behaviors closer to how wealthy people manage their finances. But of course, life is subjective, right? And with NLPs, we can really tap into the structure of almost anything as it's interpreted in the world around us. How does another person's experience create a better structure and thus yield better results? We need to come to the conclusion that the experience of our life is subjective, which means basically it's based on or influenced by our personal feelings and opinions. what is great in this understanding is that we don't have to think one dimensional. Life does not need to be followed by the same old ways of thinking. How we structure our life is done internally, which is mostly unconscious, of course. So once we are more aware that our lives are subjective, it can allow us to be more flexible to new ideas. And of course, we have to break through limiting beliefs, which is extremely difficult. We all have limiting beliefs, which have been ingrained sometimes for longer than we can remember. If we do not believe we can accomplish something, then we filter it in that negative energy and not produce the results we desire. Now, while neuro-linguistic programming, with it, we can create empowering beliefs so we can be mentally stronger and push through our old habits. What you believe about yourself has the greatest effect on what you experience in your reality. There is the ability to change for the better. And NLP, right, does not tell someone how to do anything in absolute terms. It rather gives better understanding to life's complicated issues and how we can view it with a fresh set of eyes. Life has limited potential to it. The more we learn and the more we experience the world gives us ultimately strengthen the structure to do anything at a higher level. Now, in terms of NLPs, there are some techniques we can use to better help us in our daily lives. We can focus on our state of mind. We deal with other human beings all the time, which means there will be conflicting views between us. They happen all the time. Before going into a negative state of mind, we stop. We take a deep breath before reacting. Then try to de-escalate the tension by breaking up the conflict before it gets out of control. Lead by good example. We can also stop the emotional cycles that happen in our lives. When we have had bad emotions like anger or frustration, it can go into a never-ending loop in our minds, and thus cause us to continue to feel the same effects of those emotions. Think about when we are angry at someone for a long, long period of time. Those angry emotions continuously course through us. And it won't have a positive effect on our nervous system and can lead to other ailments, which have been well researched by leading modern neurologists. Stop and change the direction of those feelings before they go into that loop, that never-ending loop. By doing this, we can get out of those stuck emotions and really more amplify good feelings instead. We can also, reframe old patterns. Ask yourself a simple question. How do you know that your thoughts and views are actually true? This is a very important question. The way you view anything could be based on how we were conditioned in the past from others like, parents, teachers, coworkers, and friends. This conditioning is oftentimes not based on actual facts. And again, as I said before, more to just opinion. We should explore new views and facts, and more than just opinions. Explore the new views, we create new patterns. We are always framing things in our minds. We can create new meanings and new realities so we can break from limiting beliefs. And last, I'd say we can anchor ourselves. Whenever I enter my home, I always make the habit of locking the door. It has become a habit that is anchored in my mind and becomes automatic without much thinking about it, right? I don't have to think about it. I walk in the door, I lock the door. I walk into my home, and I lock the door. It becomes a habit. When we, self-anchor, we create a reminder in our nervous systems, our minds, of course, in our nervous systems. Give yourself confidence to retrain your mind and body to start doing what you want to achieve, and this will create a shift to a stronger and more confident self. So that's all for today. I would thank you all for listening, and if you like this episode, please share with a friend or a family member in need. And of course, if you love this episode, please hit subscribe. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Nat Palestino signing off. Bye for now.